Mellow greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we're going to jump aboard the Trump train. Whoop whoop. Next stop, failure. Yeah, good times. I know that there has been a ludicrous amount of content and articles and stories and rumors and tweets and Facebook posts and all this crap. And rather than have you try to sift through it and figure out what the hell is going on, I thought I would take it all, go compress it down, and give you a quick rundown, high speed, let you know exactly where Trump is at, where he's grasping at straws, what the chances are that he's actually going to grab onto anything and be able to pull his bloated carcass out of the hole of failure and back into the presidency, and kind of what it all means, and then, of course, my favorite, why he's actually doing it. Donald Trump is trying to discredit an election he is losing. Joe Biden has won the presidency, but the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, is attempting a coup in plain sight. "I won this election by a lot," he tweeted on Saturday morning. This came after he demanded that states stop counting votes when the total began to turn against him, after his press secretary shocked Fox News anchors by arguing that legally cast votes should be thrown out. Because of course she did. I feel like I gotta keep putting this reminder out there. But one more time. When the people who crow the loudest about ensuring your rights and your freedoms and keeping them sacrosanct, including the right to vote, are the first people who want you to vote and then not actually have your vote get counted, you might be hurtling towards fascism. Just a thing I heard, out on the streets. The Trump administration's current strategy is to go to court and try to get votes for Biden ruled illegitimate, and that strategy explicitly rests on Trump's appointees honoring a debt the administration, at least, believes they owe. One of his legal advisors said, quote, "We're waiting for the United States Supreme Court, of which the president has nominated 3 justices, to step in and do something, and hopefully Amy Coney Barrett will come through." If that fails, and it will, Mark Levin, one of the nation's most popular conservative radio hosts, is explicitly calling on Republican legislatures to reject the election results and seat Donald Trump as president anyway. After Twitter tagged that tweet as contested, Trump's press secretary weighed in furiously on Levin's behalf. Because again, of course she did. Yeah, we went like a year without a single press conference, and all of a sudden Kayleigh McEnany is running point. You know why? Because while Donald Trump is going to loft out tweets from the White House while he's double-fisting Filet-O-Fishes and, tweeting with his toes, or however the hell he manages to consume 13,000 calories a day while also tweeting 40 times. Donald Trump is not going to go outside in front of a microphone or a camera right now because he is embarrassed. Because he knows anytime he shows his face, the graphic underneath is going to say, "Trump is currently losing." And if you know anything about Donald Trump, it's that he will never, ever, ever, ever allow himself to be viewed as a failure or a loser, even when he fails or loses. If you are unsure of what that looks like, please feel free to go peruse any of his half a dozen bankruptcies in the past 40 years, as he just washes his hands of failure and moves on to the next implosion without ever having to admit that he actually failed. Peak Donald Trump. That this coup will probably not work, that it is being carried out farcically, erratically, and ineffectively does not mean it isn't happening, or that it will not have consequences. Millions will believe Trump will see the election as stolen. The Trump family's Twitter feeds and those of associated outlets and allies are filled with allegations of fraud and lies about the process. It's the construction of a confusing but immersive alternate reality in which the election has been stolen from Trump and weak-kneed Republicans are letting the thieves escape. I've often made reference to the number one Trump plan. It's his general plan when dealing with the public, and it's called bamboozle them with bullshit, and it's something he's been doing for decades. And if he has enough reporters chasing their own tails and photographers just running around town looking for the black limo with the guy with the bad wig in it, and everybody's running around like chickens with their head cut off, trying to keep up with his 14 press conferences, his 12 statements, his 83 tweets, and his 2 body doubles running interference for him, then maybe, just maybe, they won't report on the fact that he is indeed a loser. So, once again, peak on-brand Trump. Democracy works only when losers recognize that they have lost, and that will not happen here. So there are two major tentpoles as to why Trump keeps pushing forwards with this. This right here is reason number one, and it's that his ego will not allow it. He cannot conceive of being a loser. He cannot conceive of being beaten. And he sure as shit is never going to write, let alone come out and give a concession speech. Trump concedes nothing. He just hires more lawyers. And to that point, let's show you what Donnie's up to and how well it's being received in the legal and judicial communities as he tries to sue to maintain the presidency. Because again, this is what Donald Trump does best. He doesn't make money best. He doesn't build buildings best. He doesn't even be best. The only thing he does best is hire more lawyers while bragging about how awesome he is. He doesn't actually do anything. He just writes checks from his dad's former fortune and, lawyers do all the dirty work. Growing discomfort at law firms representing Trump in election lawsuits. Some lawyers at Jones Day and Porter Wright, which have filed suits about the 2020 vote, said they were worried about undermining the electoral system. Yeah, if Trump's lawyers are already questioning the efficacy and the morality about what they're doing, and we still have 2 months of this left, it is not a good sign for Donald Trump, because he's going to need really, really hardcore slimy lawyers to do some really, really hardcore shit. And apparently, this legal team seems to have found some kind of, ethics or something that triggered their inner nausea. I'm kind of curious. Let's check it out. Some senior lawyers at Jones Day, one of the country's largest law firms, are worried that it's advancing arguments that lack evidence and maybe helping Mr. Trump and his allies undermine the integrity of American elections, according to interviews with 9 partners and associates. 9. Damn. At another large firm, Porter Wright Morris and Arthur, based in Columbus, Ohio, lawyers have held internal meetings to voice similar concerns about their firm's election-related work for Mr. Trump and the Republican Party. According to people at the firm, at least one lawyer has already quit in protest. Now, while those are Trump's lawyers externally, Trump also seems to have his own internal team of lawyers called the Department of Justice, because William Barr is another sycophant to Donald Trump who's going to become unemployed once Trump loses power. Naked political ploy, outrage, and a top DOJ official resigns after Barr memo aims to bolster baseless Trump fraud allegations. U.S. Attorney General William Barr came under fire overnight after issuing a memo to federal prosecutors that critics warn aims to bolster President Donald Trump's continued baseless claims that rampant voter fraud, which doesn't factually exist, cost him re-election. Barr's memo, sent to U.S. attorneys across the country, authorizes an exception to the Justice Department guidelines, telling top federal prosecutors they could, quote, pursue substantial allegations of voting and vote tabulation irregularities prior to the certification of elections in your jurisdiction in certain cases. Barr wrote that he'd already done so in specific instances. Such inquiries and reviews may be conducted if there are clear and apparent credible allegations of irregularities that, if true, could potentially impact the outcome of a federal election in an individual state. Quote, any investigation of claims of irregularities that, if true, would clearly not impact the outcome of a federal election in an individual state should normally be deferred until after the election certification process is complete. Once again, going against all legal precedent in a mad bid to keep the Wizard of Oz sitting on his throne behind the green curtain. And if all of y'all remember, in the Wizard of Oz, yeah, sure, the wizard was this big, powerful, mighty thing until you pulled back the curtain and it turned out it was a 3-foot-tall dude standing on top of a stool with a megaphone and a microphone. Donald Trump. So, thanks to Barr, the DOJ's election crimes director resigned after receiving that memo. Richard Pilger, the U.S. Department of Justice Director of the Elections Crimes Branch, has resigned following Attorney General William Barr's authorization earlier today for federal prosecutors to investigate allegations of voter fraud. Pilger, whose office oversees investigations into voter fraud, reportedly tendered his resignation within hours of Barr's authorization. Quote, having familiarized myself with the new policy and its ramifications, I must regretfully resign from my role as Director of the Election Crimes Branch. And then this little important note on the bottom, quote, last month, Barr lifted a DOJ prohibition on election fraud investigations occurring in the months before a national election. making it so that prosecutors could request permission to investigate directly from Barr instead of from a career prosecutor in the DOJ's criminal division. That's right, it's a one-man show. It's all William Barr, literally doing whatever he wants, circumventing judicial review, circumventing any sort of discussion about his possible actions. He's just getting orders from Trump, going right out, issuing memos, doing whatever the hell he wants to do. Now he has election fraud people quitting, and Trump's own personal lawyers are beginning to question whether they should even be his lawyers because there's so much bullshit in the suits that they're writing. Now, good God, let's take a look at Georgia. Georgia's Republican senators call on Secretary of State to resign. Georgia's 2 Republican U.S. senators are calling on the state's top election official, also a Republican, to resign after alleging, quote, too many failures in Georgia elections this year, but without mentioning specifics to support their claims. Senator David Perdue and Senator Kelly Loeffler issued a joint statement that blasted Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger for allowing the management of Georgia elections to, quote, become an embarrassment for our state. Quote, we have been clear from the beginning, every legal vote cast should be counted. Any illegal vote must not. No shit. These 2 Republican nudniks who won, one of whom is worth $500 million, have decided to shit on the Republican who oversees elections in the state. Would you care to see what his response was? It was pretty tasty, I promise. Earlier today, Senators Loeffler and Perdue called for my resignation. Let me start by saying that is not going to happen. The voters of Georgia hired me, and the voters will be the one to fire me. I know emotions are running high. Wow, emotions. Politics are involved in everything right now. If I was Senator Perdue, I'd be irritated I was in a runoff. The election was a resounding success. The average wait time in Georgia to vote was 3 minutes. Almost 5 million Georgians cast a vote in this election. That's a record turnout. Nearly 75% of Georgia voters voted in person, while the other quarter voted through absentee ballot. That absentee ballot law was adopted by a Republican legislature, supported by Republican Speaker David Ralston, and signed into law by then Republican Governor Sonny Perdue. The process of reporting results has been orderly and followed the law. Where there have been specific allegations of illegal voting, my office has dispatched investigators. We've put a monitor in at Fulton County, one of our longtime problem Democrat-run counties. Oh, those damn Democrats. I care about counting each and every legal vote. And as far as a lack of transparency, we were literally putting the releases up at a minimum hourly. I and my office have been holding daily or twice daily briefings for the press to walk them through all the numbers, so that particular charge is laughable. Was there illegal voting? I'm sure there was, and my office is investigating all of it. Does it rise to the numbers or margin necessary to change the outcome to where President Trump is given Georgia's electoral votes? That is unlikely. So as of right now, we have Barr trying to use the DOJ to drum up controversy and election officials resigning because of it. We have 9, count them, 9 Trump attorneys publicly stating that what they're doing is more than likely morally unethical and legal bullshit. We have Republican senators in the state of Georgia screaming at the Republican Secretary of State to resign because he won't just hand them the election. And meanwhile, that same Republican Secretary of State is publicly stating that he has seen absolutely no sign of anything that would give Trump enough votes to flip this state back. So if Trump can't keep his lawyers happy, if Trump can't get the DOJ to drum up more controversy, if Trump can't get state election officials to get on board with his plan, then why the hell would Trump be doing this? I mean, if you remember earlier, I told you there were 2 reasons. One, because his ego couldn't possibly handle losing, and the idea of concession will never enter his addled brain. So what would reason 2 possibly be? It's Donald Trump, everybody. You know what it is. Trump campaign sent 23 emails today seeking donations with messages like mysterious ballots and stop counting illegal ballots. The fine print says 60% of donations go to retirement of general election debt, which suggests debt and no incentive to concede until that debt is retired. So there you go, everybody. Donald Trump isn't trying to conserve or save our democracy. Donald Trump isn't trying to improve the visuals of America on a global basis. Donald Trump is just a spoiled, petulant man baby. He doesn't want to admit he lost the election, and he sure as shit doesn't want to have to pay his own bills because, well, he never has before, and why start now? So, 2 months left, everybody. Keep your eye on the prize, and don't let these thieves get away with nothing. All right? My name is James. I'm from the internet, and I'm out. Peace.